What's up, friends? Welcome into Rock Chalk Sports here on KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City with Elijah Schmidt running the operations and Dan Courtwright. I am Sean Kellerman. Thanks for joining us on this unbelievably rainy Thursday.
Oh my gosh.
My socks are soaked.
Dude, coming in, that back alley was just horrible. I thought I was going to get swept away.
I was talking while you were in the can earlier with Big Lodge about how you would never think to have an extra pair of socks somewhere. It's like I walked in, that was his first thought. Is I wish I had an extra pair of socks.
Yeah, it's horrible. My shoes are still soaking wet.
Man, it's brutal. And I was trying to explain to my daughter on the way to daycare earlier this morning that it's supposed to be snowing on January 8th when this is happening. And, we're supposed to be building snowmen and everything after work, but I guess it's just going to pour down rain.
It has been nice the couple of days leading up to this day.
It has been. And tomorrow will be back, which is Good Friday energy. Just kind of one of those, I'm not a fan. I can do overnight thunderstorms occasionally, especially if I'm like at the lake. You get a little overnight thunderstorm. You just had a day in the sun.
Yeah.
And then the sun comes back out.
Nice.
But otherwise, I'm not really a rain guy.
Really?
I don't.
I like it a little bit. I mean, I don't know. I had to clean the gutters yesterday before just to get prepared.
Yeah.
I like sleeping in the rain. And I like
the overnight.
Like a Sunday with a blanket over you, and you get a old cup of mud, and you put on Gilmore Girls or something, and it's raining outside. Doesn't that sound just lovely to you?
That sounds great. No, I am a sunshine on Sunday. I want to get out. Go for a little jog, take the family to the park. You
want to curl up with
energy.
a nice book?
No, but again.
By the
if
fireplace.
I'm at the lake and I'm like at a lake house or cabin or something like that, little overnight thunderstorm, I mean, that hits. Otherwise, give me the sunshine.
It's a very specific way that you want your rain.
It kind of is.
Other than that, you don't want rain?
Not really.
It's kind of like you with dogs. Like you don't like dogs that jump, shed, or bark. All dogs do that. Like there
maybe
like
some
3 dogs in the
more
world
docile. Yeah.
who don't.
Yeah, who knows? Anyway, the sun will be back out tomorrow. But yeah, if it's gonna precipitate, I want it to be snow, man. I'm a big snow guy. That's the difference.
Yeah, I'm there.
I'm a big snow guy.
I'm with you. But I see, like the last couple of days have got me excited for spring.
Yeah, dude.
Like this. It was like it got to like 60 something, and I was like, whoa, oh man, like this.
We've talked about this.
I pulled my golf clubs out and I cleaned them yesterday. That's how excited I was for spring.
Plus, your fiance's out of town.
She is out of town,
you didn't have
so
anything
I was
to do.
allowed
so
to.
you got the golf clubs and the gutters and all that. But we talked about this before. I am a generally optimistic person, as people who watch the show probably know.
Sure.
But I like all the seasons. I really do. But I don't want it to be raining on January 8th. Like, give me snow. Yeah. It's January.
So you don't have one
already
season in particular that you like more than the
No,
rest?
but I will say, to your point.
That's not true. That's like saying, oh, I don't have a favorite kid. Yes, he does. He tells me all the time off air.
When I get to the March time of year, the March month, I don't know why I said March time of year.
Yeah.
Springtime. That's probably the most excited I am, to your point.
Sure.
Because you've got a lot of good things coming up, March Madness, spring training, and all that. My favorite season to my core is probably summer, but there's a little bit of excitement with spring because summer is also coming. But you get.
So you're not an autumn guy.
I like it. Again, I like every season. Autumn, you get the leaves, you got Dan's flannels, you got football.
Yeah.
I mean,
love my flannels.
It's great.
Football, yeah,
Oktoberfest beers.
Oh
no, dude, it's all good.
Yeah, I'm a fall guy through and through. I do like summer though. I like me some summer.
Yeah.
But
we kind of grew up at the lake, man. I mean, not really, but that was our vacation spot, Lake of the Ozarks. We would literally bum off my aunt who has a place down there.
We had my front yard had a area where it kind of sloped down and it would fill in with like a puddle. That was what we did for fun.
Oh, good. Yeah. Oh, we had. I'm the youngest of 6. We had a cow tank in our backyard at my first house.
Is that true?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
A big. Yeah, it was great. It was our pool.
Nice.
You just get the garden hose and fill it up, and
my goodness,
it was great. Shout out to mom and dad, just out there grinding through life.
And this was when you were a kid, right?
Yes.
So how was that tough going out there when the Dust Bowl was happening?
That's tough. I don't know. I will say that it's occasionally tough getting out of bed after a weekend-long bender. as we talk about our case of the Monday.
Case of the Mondays.
Anyway, that's, I guess, our talk on the Four Seasons here. We're talking Kansas women's basketball here in the opening segment. We're going to hear from head coach Brandon Schneider very quickly. Then we're going to have the voice of the Kansas Jayhawks, Brian Hanni, here in studio at these gorgeous Kansas Nation studios downtown Lawrence here on Mass Street. He's talking KU basketball against TCU, just the ramifications of that win, 104-100, a couple nights ago in the Fog. After that, we're going to hear some exclusive post-game interviews that my co-host on the Jayhawk Radio Network, David Lawrence, had with Trey White and Elmarko Jackson in the locker room, a joyful locker room after the win. And then in the 5 o'clock hour, Dan, excited for this. We are doing a fantasy draft inspired by one of our devoted listeners.
Shout out to KU Najee for giving us this idea. Sean and I will be doing a draft of Bill Self era games. Do you want to go 5 or 6? I
did the math.
So I have a list of 10.
I don't know why I did
so
the math.
That's why I think I want to do 5.
Yeah, you need to get that to 12. We got to stick to 6 and 6. But I did the math. I should have just looked at his all-time record. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I'm sure that Chris Tyson, who does great work for media communications, has it. I said about 36 games a year, and he's been here, 23 years or whatever. Yeah. So that worked out to like 830 games. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be tough. But
it's a good amount of games.
But there's some that just stick with you, and it's a good opportunity if you guys follow us on socials, which you should, to let us know if we forgot any. You can follow us at the Kansas Nation on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Of course, kansasnation.com is the place to be for the best coverage of all things KU. And Apple Podcasts, Spotify as well. Appreciate the likes, the subscriptions on there. It means a lot to us. So, yeah, we'll talk Bill Self era basketball games. We have to do this, right? I mean, after what we just witnessed on Tuesday night, one of the greats. It's great stuff. We're talking Big 12 hoops recap the week that was, and then we're going to hear DL's exclusive interview with Jacque Vaughn, who is not good, as David says. He is great. Because
you got me scared there a little bit.
Phenomenal interview, and I just love the sound of his voice. I talked about this on the locker room show. I could fall asleep to the sound of his voice.
Oh, really?
I mean, it's just like, wow. Plus, he talks about the pride of wearing the Kansas jersey.
Sure.
Everything people want to hear.
He's an energetic guy. Every time I went down and I watched him go back to the locker room, he was like, you know, shaking hands and kissing babies, and man, he's just like he's just a good guy to be around.
Well, you're gonna not want to miss that interview, David and Jacque, a little bit later in the show. Joyful locker room, like I said. We're gonna close out talking Kansas football, transfer portal, plus college football playoff. We are in the semifinals.
That's right.
Miami and Ole Miss tonight at 6:30, and then tomorrow is the Big Ten battle of Indiana and Oregon. We'll talk a little of that before we get out of here today on this Thursday edition of Rock Chalk Sports. Dan, let's talk Kansas women real quick before we toss to Brandon Schneider as well as a couple KU players. 62-59, Utah over KU and Allen Fieldhouse. You look at the record, the Hawks are 11-5, 1-3 in Big 12 play. This one hurts because West Virginia is really good, Iowa State's really good, and those are the 3 losses now, plus Utah that Kansas has. You're going to have to win some of these games. Yeah. So really unfortunate. Kansas got down. They threw a dart at it late. But close losses have kind of defined the Big 12 season so far.
Yeah, and, KU had a chance to come back and win it. They were down by 9, I believe, with not a lot of time left in this game. They were down 12 with 4:30 remaining. KU scored 9 straight points to draw within 3. She hit a 3-pointer, 3 of her only 6 points in this game with 38 seconds remaining to get the score to 62-59, but just not able to convert it there. So really unfortunate stuff. I mean, Jalea and Samaya have been fantastic all year long, right? Samaya, she winds up with 19 points, only 4 free throws attempted in this game. That's not something you quite often see out of Samaya Nichols because she gets to the free throw line a lot. But Jalea Davis, she had 20 as well. She went 8 for 10 from the free throw line, 6 for 11 from the field. And you gotta just get more out of your other starters, right? You had Lily, she had 8, that was good. Laya had 2 points in this game. Only had 6. Keeley had 0. Libby had 2, right? You need to get more out of those 2 freshmen with Libby and Keeley coming off. I mean, one of them is going to be starting, but whoever comes off the bench and whoever winds up starting, you just need to get more productivity out of them on the offensive side of the ball. You need to have them hit their threes. You need to have them make an impact on the offensive side, and you're not seeing that. You're seeing a lot of feeds to Jalea, which I understand. When you have somebody of that caliber down playing that 4 position, you're going to try to feed her every single time. You're going to try to get her the ball. You have a point guard in Samaya who can shoot, who can get to the free throw line, who can drive and finish near the basket. Yeah, that makes sense. But they're going to have to kick it sometimes, and you're going to have to hit your threes. And Kansas was not good at threes yesterday. They went 3 for 16 from the three-point line. Libby and Keeley both 0 for 2 in this one. Elle Evans, she went 2 for 5 in this one, which is okay, but that one of them came late. She was really a non-factor everywhere else on the court. So we always talk about the depth of this squad. There's only 11 girls, I believe, on this team. But you talk about the depth, you talk about how even the girls who are playing, coming off the bench, they're still impact players. They still can make an impact. And virtually 3 of the starters and all the bench didn't make an impact whatsoever. It's just you need more out of them.
One night after the Kansas men were down 15 with 4.5 to go and 9 with just over a minute to go, the Kansas women almost replicated that as they were down 12 with 4.5, like you said, and actually ended the game on that 9-0 run. KU couldn't execute down the stretch. But to your point about threes, KU minus 18 behind the arc because 9 threes were made by Utah and 3 for Kansas. You hate losing your home games, and KU is now 0-2 at home. And again, 20 points from Jalea and 19 from Samaya. We knew that those were going to be the stars of this, but you need more production from a point standpoint from Elle Evans, who hit just the 2 threes for the 6 points. And then you had, when you combine Fandel, Parks, Kanessa, and even throw in Harshaw and Sanaya Copeland, you got 4 points, 6 points out of the grouping. And then Nadira El Tayeb, of course, you don't expect a lot of points from her, but 6 points from those other players. You need more from Elle, and maybe, just maybe, Kansas is missing Reagan Williams more than they thought they were going to, because she is a really good playmaker, just a sophomore, more of a big, but we've seen she's been able to attack off the bounce when she's been healthy, so hopefully get Reagan back soon. Really unfortunate night last night for the Kansas women. Got to start stacking some wins together as Utah, who is a good team. Utah now 3-1 in Big 12 play, gets Kansas, and it's KU's time now to win some of these games down the stretch. Let's go to the podium post-game at Allen Fieldhouse. Brandon Schneider and KU players.
After that home opener conference play game.
Obviously not great. I think we made a lot of mistakes on our end. I think that this was a game where we kind of beat ourselves. So obviously not a great way to start Big 12 play in Allen Fieldhouse.
Yeah, we're definitely disappointed. I think that we struggle with making one mistake and then just adding on to them consistently. So we definitely need to work on that.
What are your guys' thoughts on the foul calls in the second half of the game? A lot of free throw line opportunities for both teams. Where do you guys see yourself in getting into those tight-knit games towards the game like today in the future?
Yeah, we focus a lot on just getting to the bonus faster than the other team, because that already pulls the pressure off of them. I didn't think any of the foul calls were necessarily terrible in the first place. They were fouls, and we just need to do better.
Samaya, how much did it seem like the ankle was hampering the fourth period?
No, yeah, really bad. Very bad. It kind of hurt to cut and change direction, especially on defense. But I knew my team needed me, so I just stayed.
Samaya, you had 19 points. How do you see yourself growing throughout the rest of this Big 12 play? Are you expecting more high-point games like today, or what's on your mindset?
It's a different question. I feel like that's kind of just my normal. But it really doesn't matter how many points I score, we still lost. So I really could care less.
You guys got out-rebounded 42-30 by Utah tonight. Just what was Coach Braden's message to you guys on the boards?
That we were soft. To get out-rebounded by 12, I think, is something that
insane
cannot happen if we want to win Big 12 games. We put an emphasis on that in preparation, and we didn't really execute. So that's on us. But I think that with this game, we're going to be able to learn a lot about ourselves, and I'm glad this game is happening now versus in a couple months. But yeah, there's a lot to take away from this game.
Good?
Thank
Thank you.
Coach, what are some of your biggest takeaways from this game, and what was the difference between the locker room speech at halftime and the post-game speech?
Post-game, which is right now what was most important, was I'm not saying this is who we are, but it was who we are tonight, and we were soft and uncoachable. You can't get out-rebounded by 12. That's soft. And then you can't give up 8 threes in a half because you don't communicate, on switches or things that weren't even screens. So it's not who I think we are as a team, but it's who we were tonight.
Can you explain what you mean by uncoachable?
Doing the things that we practice, and then when we reinforce those things in every timeout or at halftime, as you mentioned, doing them every single possession with a sense of urgency and effort, and respect of your opponent. Because when you make a mistake against a team like Utah, you're going to pay for it because they have good players and they're well coached. And I could say that about 14 other teams in this conference.
Coach, Samaya and Julia, 2 players well over double digits in this game. How important is it for this team to have them perform at their best, and do you think that both of those players did their best tonight?
Offensively, we got some good things. I think collectively we have to be better defensively. Julia's obviously behind defensively, which is to be expected and to understand when you miss 6 weeks of non-conference play. I think that you're not going to win games with 2 people. I've always said 3 to 4. Have to be in double figures to be successful, and 2's not enough.
On that, you said that after the last game you played, that really might have been one of those who picked up the scoring other than the main 2.
Mm-hmm.
And she was slightly better in the second half, but didn't get much help. Agree? Or
I think we have to have more production out of her. I think tonight foul trouble impacted it for sure, and because we've been playing her quite a bit of minutes. So she's somebody that, and I've said this to her, 15 and 7 is what she should expect out of herself, and got 6 rebounds tonight, but. We need more offense out of her, especially without Reagan.
And what is the timetable at Reagan?
I think it's soon. She hasn't practiced yet, but she started, some running rehab. I would love, and again, I would say, the best way I could say it is I do think now she's kind of day to day from when we might get her practicing. And then, typically you got to practice full speed and live in contact for a few days before we're going to put you out there.
Samaya mentioned something about her ankle bothering her. Is that something on your radar?
Yeah, I mean, Samaya's always on the radar. She obviously tweaked it, in game, and asked to go back in, and medical staff cleared her to go back in. Fortunately, we have a day off tomorrow. That we'll get her in for rehab and get more information.
You're heading into a really tough part of the schedule where you play at Baylor and then you host Oklahoma State with the Arizona road trip. How do you keep that focus straight ahead?
Well, I think we've been in a tough part of the schedule. We've now played at Iowa State. We've played West Virginia. We obviously played a road game and then played a really good Utah team who just beat the number 8 team in the country. So I don't know that anybody has started Big 12 play with a tougher schedule than we have. I just think it happens to continue Sunday and Wednesday and then at Arizona State.
But with that, how disappointed are you with dropping home contests against West Virginia and Utah?
Very. Yeah, you can't compete for a conference championship and losing home games. We just have to take more pride in playing better in Allen Fieldhouse.
KU women fall to Utah last night in the Fog, 62-59. 1-3 in Big 12 play. Got to get some wins on the schedule here very shortly for Coach Brandon's squad. After this, Brian Hanni, voice of the Jayhawks, joins us here in studio to talk all things Kansas men's basketball and a little football chatter as well. Rock Chalk Sports rolls on, kansasnation.com and ESPN Kansas City. Sean Kellerman, Dan Courtwright back here in the Kansas Nation studios, downtown Lawrence on Mass Street. Rock Chalk Sports rolls on every Thursday on the show. We're joined by Brian Hanni, the voice of the Jayhawks. BH, we haven't seen you here in studio in a while. Obviously, the holidays have been a busy season, so great to get back to our normal Thursday routine. What a game on Tuesday. We got to start with that. Just your reaction to KU somehow snatching victory from the claws of defeat, down by 15 points with 4.5, down by 9 with about a minute, down by 5 with 12 seconds. Kansas somehow miraculously gets the comeback, and being in the Fog mattered a couple nights ago.
Boy, it did. And it goes down as the scooter game, as it turns out.
Yeah.
It's the way we'll look back on this. And to me, even though the 2017 West Virginia game featured a 14-point deficit with 2:45 to go, and in this case you had 4:30, technically 4:20 when you cut it from 15 to 13. This, to me, is the better comeback. Just because of all of the context around the game, the fact that we'd lost the previous one, and what are the naysayers saying at that point if you fall to 0-2 in the league after previously going 33 years prior to last year, always winning your league opener, knowing that you still have to face Arizona and Iowa State twice, and you've got this murderer's row of a schedule in front of you, the gauntlet that is the Big 12. To me, this is the bigger comeback. This is the more impressive one. And what you just said about being down 9 with a minute and change, down 5 with 12 seconds left, stuff that typically you never see overcome. And yet Sean likes to use the phrase, and I think he coined it, it's just different, right? That's your personal hashtag. You need that on like some hoodies and some merch.
Right.
Allen Fieldhouse is just different. And Bill had the great quote that I tweeted as soon as he said it because I knew folks would want to latch onto it, and that was, so long as there's time on the clock, anything can happen in Allen. There's I think the quote was, there's always a chance in Allen. So long as there's time on the clock, there's always a chance in Allen. You may have dug 6 feet deep and you're piling dirt on top of us and we look like we're dead, but until that final gasp of air escapes our lungs, if we're in Allen, there's always a chance. And Kansas, came back from the dead, it felt, with that one. And there's so many things that had to happen for that to be the case. But, thankfully, 2017 versus West Virginia was burned into the forefront of my brain because prior to Tuesday night, that was the greatest comeback I'd ever been on the microphone for. And I remembered the kid's name that struggled to get the ball in bounds from West Virginia because I've told the story probably 100 times since 2017 that Nathan Adrian was standing there on that north end of the field house trying to get the ball in, and you could physically see his knees shaking as the not just the magnitude of the moment, but the overwhelming nature of the building when the Hawks get cooking, as BD used to say, and that place gets roaring, and just everything is amplified and magnified and all that. And you could see West Virginia physically shaking and their chances literally crumbling before our eyes in the midst of that comeback, right? Similar deal the other night with Brock Harding. You just fast forward 9 years, different cast of characters. They're missing front ends on one end. They're struggling to get the ball in bounds on the other. When the Toulson kid, and I kind of hyperbolized a bit, I said his inbounds pass was thrown 120 feet on a 94-foot court. It was more like 110. But I mean, he throws it into the ADA section. And just imagine if DP would have hit the corner through 1.7 left.
Not only did you give Kansas a chance to tie the game, but you gave him 2 chances to tie the game because White had the 3 at 85-82 that didn't go. Plus, you gave him another chance to somehow win the game. I mean, it was an incredibly impressive crumbling by the TCU Frogs.
Unreal, right? And so if that shot goes in, imagine the lore of Darren Peterson and the the full hero status. They'd be erecting statues tomorrow if that was the case. But on the subject of that, not to bounce around too much, because I know you asked for context on where this one stacks up. But to me, just real quickly, for Darren Peterson to go from 23 minutes to 32 minutes, that's big in and of itself. But bigger than that, in my mind, is what it did in his mind to come back out for 2 more plays. Doesn't sound like much, guys, but when he left, infamously, with about 2 minutes to go, turning to the sidelines, communicating, and the pass sails out of bounds from Jackson, a play that everybody immediately thought would be our undoing.
Yeah.
I even said it on the broadcast once we got about a minute deeper on the clock. I didn't think he was coming back at that point, because inside of a minute to go in regulation, if he was going to be on the floor, he would have been by then. Yeah. But once they realized, okay, what was it, 5.1 on the clock?
5 point, yeah.
Oh, they added time, 5.4.
Yeah.
It was 5.1, and they, replay review, did it go off Flory or did it go off TCU?
Right.
Okay, it's our ball. They added 0.3 of a second. When he came back out, even though it was just for, at the time, 1 play, and then a second play on the desperation heave after Toulson's long pass, it may not sound like much, but that was him pushing through the mental block that, okay, my legs are feeling however they're feeling, whether it's discomfort, cramping, fatigue, whatever. This was the first time Bill Self used the term, hey, he can suck it up for 5 more seconds, right? I don't know what term Darren would use, but to me, the mental toughness to say, okay, I may not feel optimal, but I'm still going to go out there. And you may think I'm making too much of this, but I promise you I'm not, because it's baby steps, right? And to come out for that last couple of plays Tuesday might mean he comes out for another couple of minutes Saturday, or next week it could look completely different. And so to me, as impressive as the minute jump was of 23 minutes to 32, more impressive was when it looked like his night was done, he gathered himself for a little bit more. And I'm not saying we make a hero out of that, because I know fans have different thoughts and all that, but when you've been laboring for as long as he has to come back, and everybody in the world has an opinion on it, and he's done a great job of blocking out that noise, as Coach Self talked about post-game, but you first have to convince yourself you're capable and you can push through, and I think we saw the first little glimpse of that Tuesday night that hopefully leads to a lot more mental assuredness that, okay, it may not feel great, but I got this, I'm going to be fine, I can push through.
Yeah, for sure. And, watching him play 32 minutes and then coming out for those 5 seconds, I think really showed us that, okay, well, he wants to be out there. Now, granted, you had the overtime, but you didn't really need him. And I wanted to talk about the overtime with a couple of guys who really stepped up, Melvin Council and Flory Bidunga. Bill Self said it in the post-game press conference. He said Flory was awful until overtime. Then he had a couple of huge offensive rebounds in that as well. Melvin Council really stepped up in the overtime. Just talk about those guys in terms of maintaining that momentum and how big they were in that overtime, specifically with Melvin hitting a couple of and ones and some circus shots, and Flory coming up big with those offensive rebounds.
It's interesting those were the 2 guys, because to listen to them tell the story, apparently they got into it in the huddle.
Yeah.
And Sean, you were both in the room
right
when Melvin had that quote, so maybe you can tell the story better. I've only gone back and listened to it since I was courtside doing postgame at the time. But the fact that they kind of challenged each other, and then as your 2 most talented guys still on the floor with no DP in overtime, it had to be them that did the heavyweight carrying for Kansas. Melvin gets 9 points in the extra session. Flory, I think, played to his athleticism more, and it's hard to quantify how much of that was the absence of David Punch, literally, or when he was on the floor, the more punchless version of David Punch, because he didn't have juice. His legs looked dead in the overtime. And part of that is just being a better conditioned team, I guess. I don't know. But the offensive rebounds that they were getting for the first 35 minutes dried up real quick in the last 10. And suddenly Kansas was not only having good first shot defense, but getting box outs and closeouts to come up with those defensive rebounds and not allow additional opportunities. That was huge. And Flory made some big buckets on the other end where, how much of it was no Punch and how much of it was just Flory taking it to the next level. It's a combination of the 2, I'm sure. But Kansas had to kick it into that additional gear. They did. And, when you go through some stuff and you have a chance to close out an opponent that's on that night just as good as you, quite frankly. You got them in your house. You just broke their backs emotionally by forcing the most improbable of overtime force-outs. I mean, again, this is just the 13th time in NCAA history a team down 15 in the last 5 minutes comes back to win. So you really felt like, similar to 08 in San Antonio, once you forced overtime, emotionally and mentally, we've got a pretty good inside track. But you still have to go out and execute it. And so for Flory and Melvin to put the hammer down and put the foot on the throat was just what the doctor ordered. But, hey, give Jamie Dixon's team credit. They still threw in like 3 miraculous
Oh, my
years
God.
Oh, my God.
in the last 90 seconds.
I mean, why can't we have nice things?
And by the way, I had Chris Tyson look this up. And so, he was tearing through media guides going back to 96, 97. That tied for the 3rd most opponent threes in the field house.
Oh, wow. Tech did it last year.
Tech did it last year. There was 18 and 16 as well, but 15 threes made. And 3 of those 4 examples in the top 4 were all overtime games.
Yeah.
So that bears mentioning. But who would have thought TCU's the team this year that comes in and does that?
Yeah, averaging 8 threes.
Yeah, they nearly doubled it. So pretty impressive.
Well, I want to ask you about the defense because obviously we struggled the majority. But first, one more positive note from that game because it's one of the all-timers. Kansas goes to 1-1. You and I were talking a little bit off air about what some of the storylines would be if KU isn't able to miraculously come back. And it would be ugly, honestly. Just from a message board standpoint, it would be ugly. Yeah. Would it be reality? No, because in reality, whether Kansas wins that game in overtime or loses to a good TCU team, Kansas is about as good as they would have been either way. But the importance of getting that win and what it could do for this team moving forward, I likened it to opposite Kansas-Houston last year at Allen Fieldhouse when KU kind of gave that game away, similar to how TCU gave this one away. Felt like last year's KU's team, who realistically probably better than a 7 seed. I mean, they had talent on that team, but they ended up being a 7 seed. I felt like they never got it back. This could be the opposite for this Kansas team. Coach Self saying at the postgame podium, maybe we became a team tonight. What can this do, in your opinion, for this team, knowing that, hey, you're down, you're out, Peterson plays 32 and gets 32, and then the other guys come to the rescue in overtime?
Yeah, this is going to sound like some kind of cliched, buzzworthy term, but how do we value vibes? How do we quantify the value of vibes? I don't know, but watching Darren Peterson run off the floor like they just won an Elite 8 game, and then, I don't know if it was TikTok or Instagram, I'm showing my age here, but he gets on his live feed or whatever, and he's dancing and celebrating with his teammates, and they got the music blaring and all that. I'm just telling you, vibes are valuable, guys, and to see the buy-in and the galvanizing nature of a win like that, total team effort, as you said, pulling victory from the jaws of defeat, what that did for all those guys, it's the type of rising tide emotionally that does raise all ships for Kansas, to the point where Flory Bidunga's joking, Bill Self came up and gave me a hug, and I'm like, is this really you, Bill Self? Right. And that's a little tongue-in-cheek, but a little bit of truth behind every joke too, right? That Coach has been demanding because they've not been showing their full potential. And you mentioned you're going to ask about defense in a second, and I'm trying to prolong the conversation as long as we can.
They
we don't have
had,
to talk about it.
30-something points in the first 8 minutes of the second half. That's just something you don't see at Allen Fieldhouse. Yeah. Especially this is a top 10 KenPom team on defense.
And we'll get to it, but just to finish the vibe talk, I mean, the fact that you win that game and it's such a pull everybody together, feel-good type moment, it makes practice days the next day more effective. It makes individual player confidence more substantial, and it makes the general collective momentum of the team palpable and real. So the value of vibes in this case between what it could have been in that locker room, not just losing the game in that fashion where you give up an 18-1 run on your own floor and let them score at will, and as Bill Self said, for 35 minutes, play soft, which is the worst of the 4-letter words he can say. Not just that, but you would have done all that on the night where you couldn't afford to lose based on what was at stake with the Scooter Ward legacy. And for people that think that maybe we're making too much of that, how many times in the last 23 years of Bill Self do you remember a game where they put somebody's initials on the jersey for the rest of the season and did as much as they did? I mean, that speaks to the valued family member Scott Ward was and still is in the minds of that locker room, that athletic department, everything. If they would have looked like that and it ended in a loss on his night, man, that just, you talk about the positive carryover, that's a negative hangover that sticks with you for a little bit. So I think it was a monumental shift in the value of vibes. Is hard to quantify. But, hey, in all seriousness on the defensive talk, I'll be real curious to hear his press conference later today. I know when this show airs, he will have already spoken, but we obviously record these at different times. Spoiler alert. But I'm curious to hear him break it down once he's looked at the film because, some of the same things that concerns you in Orlando at times, reared their head versus TCU, and when they switch all 5 spots defensively on ball screens, this is a team that athletically should be good enough to do that, and it could be a really good defensive team when you do that effectively. But sometimes when the matchup puts a big on a fast downhill driving guard and you get beat to the rim like Kansas has been in both of the league games at times, that's a vulnerability, and it's something they have to account for. And clearly, even though we're one of the best shot blocking teams in the country, entered Tuesday 4th in the nation in that regard. And we still block 5 more shots, by the way. There are some spots that can be attacked within this Kansas defense with certain combinations on the floor, and that's something they've got to solve for. And without talking individuals and specifics, we'll let Coach do that. Those are some major points of emphasis because there's a blueprint out there, when certain combinations and matchups present themselves on where you can attack. And I think KU has the coaching and the physical individual athleticism to get better noticeably. It's not like, man, we're stuck. These guys are stiffs. It's not going to get any better. It will. But how quickly remains to be seen. There's nobody I trust more than Bill Self, though, to get that fixed.
Yeah. Brian Hanni, voice of the Jayhawks, joins us here in studio at the Kansas Nation Studios. Brian, I wanted to talk to you about kind of the path forward. Obviously, Kansas has a tough one out in Morgantown, always uncomfortable out there. But more importantly, I wanted to kind of preview the 3-game stretch that Kansas has. You're at Morgantown, then you got Iowa State and Baylor on Friday night. Talk to us about kind of the momentum moving forward, how, obviously this is important for momentum moving forward, heading into Morgantown, but Kansas could have easily been 0-2 in Big 12 play, and then now you got a tough West Virginia team. Kansas could be 1-2, but hopefully they're going to be 2-1 heading into this Iowa State game. Talk to us about this stretch that Kansas has coming up.
It's big, and that's where you hope some of those positive vibes and collective team confidence and momentum spills over into a road win Saturday, and then you got a full head of steam heading into a short week to play 2 really good teams, obviously most notably the number 3 team in the country in Iowa State. But before that, unenviable spot for West Virginia to have to replace a head coach after just 1 year. Coach Hodge comes from North Texas, where he'd been there 8 years, but a head coach for a couple, and brought with him their 3rd leading scorer. Their most notable scorer, though, is a guy that a year ago hit, 151 threes, I think he made at Chattanooga. Maybe it was 131 threes in one season. That's a lot.
That's an Honor Huff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Honor Huff, one of the best names, all-name team guy in the Big 12 Conference.
And he was sought after in the portal by a lot of teams.
He was. So that's your first fear. Anytime you go up against a team that you should be considered the favorite against, maybe a substantial favorite against, if they've got 3-point shooting, that's the ultimate equalizer, right? And in their house, if they get hot and that crowd gets rolling and the Mountaineer mascot's firing off his rifle too soon and all that, you can get into some trouble. You can get into some precarious spots there. But I like Huff. I like the other kid they brought in, Chance Moore, who was, I believe, Melvin's teammate last year. He's not a big guy at 6'6", but he does a lot of dirty work in their leading rebounder spot at 6+ boards a game. 13 points is their 2nd leading scorer. They've got good personnel, but like most teams in the Big 12, teams not named Houston and TCU that actually had a substantial number of returning scholarship players, it is a pretty reloaded roster. You especially have that when you have a coaching change. So we're still figuring out what it looks like beyond Huff and the likes of Moore and then the kid they brought with them from North Texas with Coach Hodge when he came, 3rd leading scorer on this team, big 6'9", 215 kind of lanky kid, plays the forward position. third leading scorer at about 11 a game, Brennan Lorient. I think a talented kid, clearly a priority carryover from the North Texas team. So they've got good guys, no doubt. But I like our team personnel-wise. We just got to find a way to, shore up some of the defensive vulnerabilities that we talked about earlier. Because, hey, in non-conference play, this was still a team that, heck, even including the UCF game, was leading the Big 12 in 3 major defensive categories and 4th nationally in 3 major defensive categories, including field goal percentage defense, the three-point shooting defense, and obviously the block shots that I talked about earlier. And so it's not been a bad defense. But here's the thing. You can be really good for 29 seconds and have excellent first-shot defense, but if you give up a ton of offensive rebounds and they're scoring against a scrambled defense after a long miss or something, well, suddenly, those second chance points add up pretty quickly. And next thing you know, you're giving up 80 points in back-to-back games. And in this game's case with overtime, you give up 100. So I think for the Hall of Fame head coach, who one of his pillars his entire career has been defense and toughness and all that, that continues to be the biggest talking point. And to be clear, it was going from Saturday in Orlando through Tuesday versus TCU. They're beating that drum about as loud as it can be beaten, and I think you're going to see tangible progress coming real soon.
Well, man, if we had all day, I'd ask you about how awesome Darren Peterson is. He's so special. I'd ask you about how great Melvin Council and Trey White have fit into the Kansas program and the Kansas culture, and how they've been even better than we could have hoped. I mean, just incredible. A lot to like about this Kansas team. I'd ask you, if we had more time, about the bench and who needs to step up. Who's going to be that spark plug, if Rosario or Dawson to come in, and just a lot of storylines. But we'll have you on throughout the season, of course, to talk more basketball. A potentially huge win for Kansas in terms of an ascent to new heights that happened on Tuesday, but you got to make it happen, right? You got to go and beat West Virginia. A couple years ago, Kansas lost at UCF, a middling Big 12 team, lost at West Virginia in January, and can't have that this year. You got to make sure that you pile up some wins and keep the vibes good, like you said. Before you get out of here, though, Brian, I got to ask you about the return of Andy Kotelnicki to the Kansas football program. Associate head coach, of course, a couple seasons as Penn State's offensive coordinator after a really fun run here as KU's offensive coordinator. Your thoughts on the hire and just your excitement to have Coach K back?
Fired up, man. Fired up. When I saw him on Tuesday night in the field house during halftime, big bear hug. And I told, dude, you just made my month. And I would have said more than a month, but I didn't want to give him too much of a
You said, is that you, Bill Self?
But I was fired up because we needed some good news, right?
Yeah.
And it was kind of a weird time at the end of the season, not having a bowl game in a year where we all expected to have one. You're hearing about some players that are leaving, and you're in that dead period before the portal opens up where there's not a lot of good news trickling in. And we had heard of, and many people had just projected the connection of Kotelnicki coming back as soon as the coaching change, was announced mid-season for Penn State. And we'd been waiting on that, and the longer it didn't materialize, I think the more doubt creeped in that it was ever going to. So when it finally hit, boy, that headline, that felt like manna from heaven right there, because we needed some great vibes there on the football front. But I'll tell you this much, they've been attacking the portal hard. Obviously, we can't talk about specifics until guys are signed, but love what they've done. I feel good about some of the guys they've retained. It sounds cliche nowadays, 3 or 4 years into this portal era that we're in now, that sometimes your biggest portal acquisitions are the retention of the guys you had before, but getting some huge names to stay bought in has been just as big as some of the guys they've added. But Kotelnicki, to me, he's just so creative. He makes you prepare for so much, whether it's pre-snap with the defense's eyes moving all over the field on everything that's going on and where do we got to be here, to just, you always feel like he's got that one extra wrinkle up his sleeve that could break a game open. I'm excited to see him work with Zeke Marshall and the offensive personnel that we bring back, Cole Ballard too. But I'm also excited to see some of the weaponry that we'll now be able to add, that we've yet to add in the portal, that's still coming, now that you can say, hey, look at who the play caller is going to be. Look at our associate head coach that we brought back. Not only what he did here when he was here, what he was able to do at Penn State, the brand name that he brings to the fold. I think it gives a lot of momentum and juice right back to Kansas, when previously in the month of December, you were hearing more headlines out of our rivals to the west, and that also added to the lack of good news that we were hearing, and we were kind of getting antsy and all that. So great job, Lance Leipold. Great job, Travis Goff, in getting this done to get Coach K back, and can't wait for KU football, man. I think let's keep hoping for more and more good news in the days to come.
Yeah, really excited to talk in more detail about some of these acquisitions in the transfer portal, both that have already committed on their social media, and when they put pen to paper, we'll have more specifics with Brian and certainly more players to come. BH, have a great rest of your day and a safe flight to Morgantown. Bring home a winner.
Yeah, we'll sure try, man. Our track record up there isn't as good as it is most places, but we still love going there each time because fans know ball. They get after it. It's an old venue, but it's a fun one. You walk in with the Hot Rod Hundley statue, and you see the history with Jerry West. And as somebody that loves that kind of stuff, I love going to Morgantown. I just wish we won more there. So let's fix that on Saturday. Thanks.
Of course, I was just going to say, you hear a lot about the comeback that you alluded to at Allen Fieldhouse, but we had a good one in Morgantown as well, Devontae and Steve's next year. So
we did.
Hopefully this is a less of a nail biter, but as long as you get the win, then we're good.
Man, I think that was the season we started calling them Cardiac Kansas. And we used the back from the deadline in that one too. So looking forward to it. Big thanks to Nate Miller for making these reports possible. Check him out at millerretirementgroup.com. Maybe you've just sold a business. You're looking to reinvest that for your retirement future. He's the perfect guy to sit down with in that regard. Thank you, fellas. Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Great to see you. I'm going to borrow some of that wood behind you to make an arc so I can float out to my car.
Yes.
As we have torrential downpours all morning in Lawrence today.
My goodness. Yeah. Well,
I probably look like a wet rat for those that watched on TV.
Right? I know. We had some backup umbrellas. I still need that extra pair of socks here that I should have had planned, I guess, for this torrential downpour. Brian Hanni, voice of the Jayhawks, joins us here in studio. More coming up after this on ESPN Kansas City and KansasNation.com. Welcome back to Rock Chalk Sports. We're going to have some exclusive interviews from the locker room post-game, KU over TCU 104-100. David Lawrence with Elmarko Jackson, as well as Trey White. But first, we got to tell you about our friends over at Game Day Men's Health Lawrence.
Yeah, I want to talk to all the guys out there. Just how are you feeling these days? Are you ready to take on the world every day when you wake up? Do you have the energy and the drive to get to work, go to the gym, take care of your family? If so, that's fantastic, but I'm guessing for a lot of you guys, it's probably a daily struggle, and everyone deals with this. So I urge you to go check out Game Day Men's Health here in Lawrence. Nobody likes going to the doctor. Everybody has that white coat phobia, and guys tend to push things off constantly. Go get yourselves checked out. Their first visit is 100% complimentary, totally free. They'll take your blood. They'll check all of your levels, see how you're doing. 50% of men deal with low testosterone by the age of 40, and 60% of guys deal with some form of erectile dysfunction in their lifetime. So go get yourself checked out at Game Day Men's Health here in Lawrence, a plush man cave-like setting. Everyone there is so nice as well. They have waters and TVs, and you can watch Kansas Nation. You can see mine and Sean's face up there sometimes whenever they're playing it on their TVs over there at Game Day Men's Health. So be sure to go check them out. Shout out to Sam Abrams and Mitch Bales over there at Game Day Men's Health here in Lawrence. Just Google Game Day Lawrence and go get yourself checked out. Get your first visit 100% complimentary. Tell them the guys at Rock Chalk Sports at Kansas Nation sent you.
What an incredible night it was a couple nights ago at Allen Fieldhouse. David Lawrence, right after the game, caught up with Elmarko Jackson in the KU locker room.
Elmarko Jackson, I'm hearing a lot of coaches and players talking about this one was for Scooter. Just talk about the emotions you're feeling right now after this game.
Absolutely. I mean, this game feels great. Bouncing back from, a Big 12, opening day loss against a team that we feel like we should have won. I feel like this is just a great response for us as a team. And, more importantly, this game was to honor, the great Scoop. So, this feels great. It's unexplainable. You can't really put it into words. I feel like this is a great, turning point for us as a team. So it's something as we can build off of, and as everybody's seen, we had the Scoop Ward patches on our jersey. So we're just gonna continue to play for him and continue to play with an energy that represents what he embodied here for the program and just, what Kansas is.
Wow, that's well said. This game has 9 lives, or 3 different games inside of one. Let's go back to the end of the first half when it was kind of I don't know, you described the start, but it didn't look, like it was your best start to the game, but then a great finish before half.
Absolutely, yeah. We just had to hunker down on defense and just be tougher. We kind of just came out a little lackadaisical. Probably just rolled over with some bad energy from the UCF game, and we had to get a little ass chewing to really focus in and lock in as a team and play how we know we're capable to play.
And then the start, it looked tragic. I mean, they knocked down shots. It just became a virus with them. They were throwing down threes everywhere. Just describe how it felt to be out there with that, that run. I think it was 18-1 run mounted up.
I felt great. To be honest, being in those situations, I mean their run. Oh, their run, yeah.
They're 18-1.
It's those threes are definitely demoralizing, but we always come in ready for the game with stuff on the board on what we preach, which is just play with energy, play with passion and joy, and then always focus on the next play. So, just the way that our team is set up, and, you can see it in the teams in the past, like we're never out the game. So, we know whatever moment of the game, we can always find a way to scratch and claw back.
Elmarko Jackson joining us postgame, 12 minutes left in the game, and you're down by 16, 67-51. But to your point, you still had faith that this could come together.
Yeah, most definitely.
And then it gets down to crunch time, and we're down 87-82 with 12 seconds left in the game. So just describe, and DP coming in and being able to knock down free throws, and you guys all making shots.
It's just being focused, being ready to execute that whatever's put in front of us as a team. I feel like this is just a great gelling moment for us to lock in with stuff that's being shown to us and executing our game plan. I feel like it's just great momentum for us leading into the rest of Big 12.
And then you knocked down your only shot, but you had 5 steals and a couple of rebounds. So just talk about your defensive awareness and being able to steal extra possessions.
Yeah, just playing hard, playing tough, and doing whatever the team needs me to do. Some nights that might be assist the ball a lot, get steals, get rebounds, score, but whatever the team needs me to do to win, I'll do whatever. So
yeah. And to the 13,000 fans that stuck through this with you guys, what would you like to say to them as they're driving home and thinking about how they're going to get up for work tomorrow?
I like to tell them, thank you for sticking with us, and hopefully we made your night a little better. We had you a little shaky in the first half, but you're going to go into the morning feeling great, and next game we have here is going to be a fun one. So
yeah, 10 years after the triple overtime win over Oklahoma, we have another one in the books, and all for Scooter.
Yes, sir. All for Scooter. This one for Scooter.
Thanks, Marco. Yes, appreciate you. Congratulations.
That was audio of David Lawrence with Elmarko Jackson post-game. Elmarko, who was out there the duration of overtime, had 5 steals in this game, including some crucial ones late. El Steelo will go with, but Bill Self saying post-game that he was his player of the game.
Which, I mean, he had 2 of the biggest, I think, pivotal points in that game, right? Stepping through that double team on the full court press and getting the ball over to Jamari. He had the great pass, also a double team, I believe, over to Melvin. By the way, shout out to Melvin for not letting go of that ball right at midcourt, which led to the alley-oop dunk to Trey White. And then 5 steals in this game, just really unbelievable. When we were talking about this off air, it's like that kind of defensive effort, that's going to get you playing time, right? And we've seen Elmarko struggle at times. We've seen him be great at times. And you got to think that after a game like this, with Elmarko stepping up in such a big way, that he's earned that playing time. And we even talked about it, about how we could potentially see either Elmarko or Jamari in the starting lineup coming into West Virginia. And I think that he's earned it. I thought that he played a fantastic game against TCU, one of the best games I've ever seen out of Elmarko Jackson.
If Kansas can take care of business against West Virginia, how about the energy on Tuesday? KU, Iowa State. Iowa State is just a wagon, man. They beat Baylor last night.
Really
More on
good.
that a little later. But, something special about playing in the fog. Plus, had Kansas lost, that would have been the second loss at home, too, because they lost to UConn. Again, I can't get over that game. Can KU make it matter, as they say, by having it be one of those games, one of those dates that you point to and say, that's what changed this team. That's how this team became the elite team that they are. And it's all about March. It's all about the big dance, really. But in the meantime, Kansas wants to win the Big 12 championship, and they needed to win that to stay in the conversation, even though it's so early, and they got to get it done in Morgantown against West Virginia on Saturday. David Lawrence also caught up with another star of the game, Trey White, who, again, so many big plays for KU. Here's that post-game conversation in the KU locker room.
Trey White, before we try to make our way through the first half, the second half, the end of the game, the overtime, just the overall emotions, as, we're remembering Scooter and honoring him, and certainly a lot of feeling like he was part of that win.
Yeah, man, I feel like, he was one of the reasons that we pulled this out tonight. We had his touch on the game. I feel like he was definitely, watching, supporting us. But Coach been doing a good job, since we got the news that, play for something bigger than yourself, just how he was selfless and trying to carry out this game for him. And I feel like tonight, once we cut it back, and got it to the overtime, we knew it was our game.
22 points, 8 of 14 from the field, 3 of 6 from the three. Not a great start for Kansas. But then a great comeback at the end of the half. Just describe that 9-0 run to finish off the first half.
Man, we had this loss to our last game to, start the second year, and I feel like that was kind of needed for us to kind of, wake us up, for January. We want to be playing our best basketball right now. We want to be playing our best basketball, in March. So I feel like that definitely was a wake-up call to us, put all the flaws in our face, and I feel like today we kind of did a good job of, assessing what they gave us. We had a problem on the board, so we had to double down on the boards and help the helper. And once we started doing that, I feel like we started playing our brand of basketball at the end.
Yeah, were you kind of as surprised as the fans that after that great ending to the first half that we didn't start out well second half, and they went on an 18-1 run, which doesn't happen in this building.
Yeah, man, not really surprised because they're a good team, but that's definitely not what we wanted.
Right.
We definitely wanted the other way around, but kudos to them. They're a good team, but I feel like today we definitely, made progress as a team today.
Yes, and you're able to knock down key threes. You're able to get in the lane. Your head-shoulder fake was able to get you to the free throw. And just talk about your game overall and what were you most proud of?
Honestly, selfless, taking me out of it. I was most proud of how Marco, Melvin, Maury, and DP, they kind of, controlled the pace later in that second half and overtime, how they pushed it in overtime. Pushed it while they were pressing, getting to the gap, getting fouled, and, giving me easy catch and shoots. I'll take those all day. So that was probably my favorite part of the game. But for me personally, just credit to my coaches and my teammates, just the work that we put in and the confidence that they instill in me.
All right. After their 18-1 run, we're down 67-51. 12 minutes left. Did you even give any thought just to the deficit it was, or were you just focused on next play?
That's Coach Self's message every game, no matter what the score is, one play at a time. And I feel like once we looked up after that first media timeout, we chopped it down, and we knew we could get it after that.
And then you're down by 9 with 1:14 remaining. But still, you guys were able to piece it back together. And just talk about the miracle of DP being able to get to the free throw line and knock all 3 clutch free throws down.
I don't even think it was a miracle, man. He does that every day, so just kudos to his reps. And I feel like all game it was like self-inflicted wounds, rebounds we didn't grab and helping over too late. But once we took that down, we cut that 9-point lead down. So DP came in and handled business.
Yeah, second half, did you kind of feel that it was yours after you had that miracle comeback?
Man, definitely. We got it that far. Coach said, we played our butts off to get this far. We may as well win it. So, once the game started, we had a different fire.
Yes, and was fatigue ever a factor in this one?
I feel like, personally, in games that are so intense like this, you don't really feel tired, because you're trying to get a stop, you're trying to, make a play on your end, you just be so into it competitively. But once you get into those timeouts, you definitely feel a little winded.
Yeah,
sure.
Over 38 minutes, you're out there battling.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll probably sleep well.
Definitely sleep well tonight. Got that dub.
All right, fans driving home talking about this being one of the best games they've ever witnessed. What would you like to tell them, those people that stayed around and watched this, and about getting past midnight?
Yeah, it's still early in the season. Stay with us because, we definitely got the same goal in mind. That's to win it all. And, we're getting better each and every day. So I'm excited to show Lawrence what it is.
Enjoy it, Trey. Thanks for
Happy
joining
New
us,
Year.
man. Happy New Year to you. Everybody's happy.
Yes, sir.
Let's go.
Thank you.
Just a casual 22 points for Trey White. We talk a lot about how Darren Peterson has a quiet 32. Trey White just scores, man. And he's
so
having
good.
the best offensive season of his career, and he just looks like a natural out there for KU. A couple of huge step-back threes, a nice finish in transition. Of course, he finished the alley-oop when Elmarko was able to get it to Melvin there late in overtime, and Melvin floated the alley-oop to Trey White. Another great game, great performance from a dude who's been fantastic for 2 months, honestly. So shout out to Trey White. That was his post-game conversation with David Lawrence in the KU locker room, 104-100. Got a lot coming up here on Rock Chalk Sports. We're going to hear DL's exclusive conversation with head coach, or with assistant coach rather, Jacque Vaughn, a little bit later in the show. And we're also talking Big 12 hoops. Got some Kansas football, some college football playoff outlook as well. But after this, a special drafts, Bill Self era basketball games. There have been nearly 900 of them here at Kansas, and you'll have to let us know who has the better list once we do our fantasy draft after this. Rock Chalk Sports continues, kansasnation.com and ESPN Kansas City. Got a special fantasy draft coming up. Haven't had a chance to do one of these in a while, so I'm excited for it, and it's very topical because
it is. Shout out to KU Najee, by the way.
Obvious reasons. Yes, KU Najee gave us this idea, but we should have come up with it ourselves after what happened Tuesday night. KU's incredible comeback. We are going to do a fantasy draft of Bill Self era games. Best games, I guess, is what we're going to say.
Yeah.
Or most memorable. I don't know. How do you want to phrase this officially?
Well, most memorable could be, like, what I remember.
We'll just say best games.
Like the KU Houston game is memorable.
See, that's far gone from my memory. I choose
Villanova and that was a memorable one.
Okay, would you guys rather that we just do
No,
worst
I
games?
We
can do worst games if you
I'm
want.
I'm doing best.
Okay, best games of the Bill Self era.
Could be bad.
Okay, it sounds like it is for you. Tell us about Crown Automotive, Dan.
I would love to tell you about Crown Automotive. Crown Automotive here in Lawrence, they sell Volkswagens and Toyotas, two of the best cars that you can get in terms of safety, in terms of longevity. Fantastic cars over in my neck of the woods, as you like to say, on South Iowa Street in South Lawrence. Miles Schneider, Crown Automotive, they have the best salespeople, some of the nicest staff, friendliest customer service. They have, a garage that you can take your car to whenever it needs to get fixed. So go check them out, crownautomotive.com. They have a lot of used cars as well. So if you're looking for a used car, you're just looking for something else to fit your lifestyle, they'll make sure to get you in the right car. So crownautomotive.com is the place to go.
All right, we're going to need to flip the MIAA coin, if I'm not mistaken.
I haven't done this in a while. The MIAA flipping coin from September 12th, 2019. From the only game I ever got meaningful playing time in, I played in 3 snaps. 2 of them were victory formation against Northeastern State. Sean, I will allow you
What is my percentage? I'm at like 90. I really am.
The coin is conspiring against me,
I am
sure.
at like 90. All right.
I'm
calling it in the air.
MIAA is heads. The football player with all the teams is tails. Go ahead and call it in the air.
All right.
You've been bad at that.
I will call it in the air. I can't even see it from where I'm sitting.
All right, ready?
Yeah. Tails.
Heads.
No. Even a blind squirrel finds a nut sometimes. Man.
Oh.
Well, it's going to be
Feels
pretty
good.
obvious what we take first and second overall, but I'll give you the choice here on where you want to go.
The thing about it is I don't know which one to pick. There's 2 clear choices. And I think I'm going to go with the one that meant the most to me. And I'm going to have to go with the 2008
No,
national
so 22
champion.
meant nothing to you.
No, it didn't mean nothing to me. 2008, I was a kid. I was 10 years old, right? Something like that. 9, 10 years old.
Well, and it
there.
had been 20 years.
Yeah, and it had been 20 years since we'd won one. That was the first one I'd ever seen. It was Bill Self's first national championship. And Mario
Is that you, Bill Self?
Mario Chalmers hitting the 3 when Derrick Rose was trying to foul Sharon Collins. You look at everybody on that roster is just unbelievable. You look at Shady, you look at Darnell Jackson, right? You had Sasha and Cole Aldrich. Tyrell Reed was on there. You know, he didn't really play that much or at all, I don't think.
Brandon Rush.
I mean,
Russell Robinson. Sharon, obviously.
Goodness. I mean, Mario, obviously. I mean, that was just a loaded roster with a ton of guys, and it was a tough Memphis squad too. And talk about a battle of two coaches and kind of what was to come of these coaches as well, because that was John Calipari's first national championship, I believe, that he had been to. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's right. I think that was John Calipari's first national championship that he went to as a coach as well.
Yeah.
Two coaches that were just going to dominate the basketball head coaching stratosphere for years to come. That was really the first taste that you got of a lot of those guys with Bill Self and with John Calipari as well. Obviously, John Calipari had his time at UMass, but yeah, I mean, look, that one meant the most to me just because I think that I was a kid, and it means the most to you when you're that young and when you're that impressionable. So I'm gonna go with the 2008 national championship.
All right, well, man, that makes it tough for me, but without question, give me 2022, the Natty. I was there at the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans. I don't know what I would have gone 1 overall, honestly, because obviously we were both younger when 2008 happened, but the 2022 Natty needs to be talked about more from a comeback standpoint.
Yeah.
We talk about, and I think some of the games that are going to be on our list highlight the fact that there are big comebacks in a lot of them. Well, 2022 is the biggest comeback in national championship game history.
It
KU
is,
was down.
That's why I wanted to pick
15
it.
15 at the break. They were down 16. They somehow came back. What's crazy is they had the almost entirety of the comeback without a three-pointer, and then Remy Martin obviously hit some huge threes late, but just dogs being dogs.
Yeah.
CB had 12 and 12 in that game. Jalen Wilson, you remember that transition finish and one that he had. All of a sudden, Kansas had completely erased the deficit. Then what was crazy is that late in the game, UNC went back out in front. People forget about that.
Yeah.
Brady Manick, and he made it North Carolina's advantage, but somehow KU found a way to get it done. Big Dave's big day. A couple huge offensive rebounds, a couple huge hook shots, and then Kansas, despite having the turnover late where DeJuan Harris stepped on the sideline and given Caleb Love, RJ Davis a opportunity, KU got the stop as Love's shot was not close, and the Hawks won the title against UNC, who, must I remind you, was an 8 seed. They were an 8 seed, and they had won 5 straight to go to the national championship game. Plus, it was such an iconic Final Four where you had Duke, UNC, Kansas, and Villanova. Yeah. And Villanova, KU, Final Four, probably not going to make my list. Maybe it's on here for yours where Ochai hits his first 5 threes or whatever it was. But that was a nice little palate cleanse from the 2018 Final Four game, as the script was a little bit flipped, as Kansas was the team hitting all the threes and establishing dominance from the jump in the Final Four. But set it up, and that was after UNC Duke. Krzyzewski's final game. UNC that year ruined Duke's senior day. Krzyzewski's final game at Cameron Indoor, and they eliminated him from the Final Four.
Yeah,
so they've
his
got
last
that
game. By the way,
Duke.
This, I don't know, you've probably seen this on the desk.
Yeah.
This piece of court is from the 2022 national championship game, but I don't think that's the biggest story of this piece of court.
It is for me.
This is, well, sure, but it's the last court that Coach K ever coached on.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Look at that. Nice slab of wood there. But yeah,
it reminds me that good things happen, and Mike Krzyzewski lost in the Final Four.
Yeah, that's true. Well, bottom line is, incredible game. Can't beat it. The 2 national championship games were going to get taken 1-2, but I'm kind of glad, man. I'm kind of glad that I get this next one. You won the coin toss, but give me 2012 against Mizzou.
Sure.
So many memories. This game was actually on my birthday. It was a pretty special day in the fog. Nobody was talking to me because my birthday was about to be absolutely ruined. 21st birthday, if you will. It was about to be ruined, and nobody was talking to me. I was like the whole, super fan, head of the camping group. I can't believe this game is on my 21st birthday. Wow. Mizzou has its best team of all time. Both teams are in the top 5. Both teams ends up being 2 seeds. KU goes to the national championship game. Mizzou loses to Norfolk State in the first round. One of 2 programs ever to lose to 15 seed in 2 separate NCAA tournaments. The other is Arizona. But Mizzou again, a top 5 team that year, as the Jayhawks were. And it wasn't Kansas' most talented, deepest roster, but you had dogs and Tyshawn and T-Rob. Connor Tehan goes 4 for 4 from 3 in that game. Kansas is down 58-39, claw all the way back. Some huge threes from Elijah Johnson as well. And then the big block from T-Rob, huge finishes from Tyshawn down the stretch, huge free throws from Tyshawn and T-Rob. And the last shot from Marcus Denman actually fell through, but was after the final buzzer. It hit the back iron, sat there for a while and fell through, but the release was after, as Kansas got the defensive stop. You got the Bill Self iconic photo of him celebrating. It meant more because it was the final game of the border war. You know, we've since picked it up, and, you know, it's been what it's been, whatever.
It's the last one that they were in the conference.
Different. It was Big 12 battles, and the fact that the last year we were facing them, somehow Mizzou has their best team ever.
Yeah, right.
And they still haven't been to a Final Four, by the way. And Kansas has a team that they thought was going to have more weaponry before the season.
Is that the year that they lost to Norfolk State?
Tyshawn and T-Rob, yeah.
That's
Both
right.
2 seeds. Kansas goes to the national championship game. Mizzou loses to Norfolk State. So, yeah, incredible day. And I think that will forever be the game that people look back in terms of a regular season as the game, despite the fact that there are some other games on this list that unquestionably are amazing as well.
Yeah, I mean, that was the obvious non-natty answer, I would say, which sucks that you got it. But and you know that one means so much just because, like you said, it was the last one in conference play. It's the last one Kansas and Mizzou ever played when they were in the same conference. It meant so much, and yeah, the field house was rocking that day. So that's a good pick. For my second pick, I mean, another probably obvious one, 2016 triple overtime against OU.
Yeah.
Right. It's got to be, you know, Perry Ellis was huge in that game. What do you have, 27, right?
I think he had more than that.
Was it more than that?
I think he had, I want to say he had 32. But yeah, no, you're right. He had 27.
Yeah, he had 27.
27 and 13. Kind of crazy. We
Hield-
scored 109 and our leading scorer had 27.
I know, it's absolutely insane. Buddy Hield, though, by the way, 46. Yeah. Just an unbelievable, like that was the best. He became like a favorite of mine. Because afterwards, too, after the game, he was just like super, you know, it was just so fun watching Buddy Hield play basketball. And, you know, he wasn't a sore loser about it. And, you know, in the post-game press conference, he was good, too. It was just, that was the best opponent game I've ever seen, maybe in Allen Fieldhouse, was Buddy Hield and his 46 points. It's just, imagine going to Allen Fieldhouse and scoring 46. Just unbelievable. And that was 1-versus-1 because the coaches poll had, I'm going to get this wrong. The coaches poll had OU, and AP had KU at
so
1.
people say 1-versus-2. I'll be quick to remind them it was 1-versus-1. But Kansas had the 1 next to their name. Yeah, Hield, 46, 13 of 23, 46 on 23 shots. He was 8 of 15 from 3, 12 of 14. He just was incredible out there. And in addition to Ellis's 27, Devontae had 22. He hit both of his threes. Strange, Devontae only took 2 threes in this game. Wayne Selden had 21. Frank Mason had 15. Mason was not efficient, 5 of 20, but Frank Mason and Perry Ellis both played 53 minutes in this game. And I mean, so many storylines. People forget it was 77-77. And Kadeem Latin of Oklahoma missed the front end of a 1-and-1 with about 2 seconds left in regulation. And then that caused overtime, similar to our friends over from Fort Worth who missed 3 straight front ends on Tuesday night. But yeah, 109, 106. In terms of greatest actual games, I mean, it's hard to not put that at number one. I mean, just incredible stuff.
By the way, OU only had 5 bench points the whole game.
Yeah,
Isn't that insane.
Yeah, Hield played 54 minutes.
And and Isaiah Cousins, who was one of their starters, only had 4 points in that game.
Jordan Woodard was on that team. They had
Jordan Woodard
had
had
really
27 in that game as well. For my second pick, I'm going to go rewind the clock back a little bit, even past the 2008 national championship. I'm going with the 2007 Big 12 championship.
That's a great one.
Against Texas in overtime. Kevin Durant had 37 points in that game. Julian Wright had 19. Brandon Rush had 19. And Mario had 17 in that one. Sharon Collins comes off the bench, plays 32 minutes and scores 20, goes 8 for 18, 2 for 3 from the three-point line. An unbelievable performance coming from Sharon Collins coming off that bench.
Man, 37 for Kevin Durant. And that was on my list. I don't know when I was going to take it, but incredible overtime in Oklahoma City. Kansas was ranked 2nd in the country. That was Kansas' 30th win on the year at 30 and 4, and somehow Kansas got a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament and had to play, or a 1 seed rather, but they had to play the 2 seed in their backyard, UCLA. Texas KD 37. It took him 30 shots to get there, but talk about 2 loaded rosters. DJ Augustine was on that team. Damian James was on that team, so that's a good one. For me, though, I mean, so many good options. I'm going back to 2008 against North Carolina in the Final Four. You talk about emotion. First battle, Kansas against Roy since he left. Kansas City Star, I remember specifically because I've got a scrapbook. I've got framed newspapers of it. Tarred and Feathered was the front headline for the Kansas City Star and Sports Daily and everything. Shout out to Gary Bedore and Trey Slaughter and everybody over there. But I can't put into words the amount of emotion. I mean, it wasn't emotion to the point of 2012 against Mizzou where it's pure hatred. You know, that's a different rivalry.
Right.
But our hearts were broken when Roy left.
Oh, absolutely.
And we happened to find the only person in the world who would be a better coach from a win-loss standpoint than Roy Williams, and we got Bill Self, and this was a chance to do it and prove it. Bill Self, all-time against Roy Williams, 3-0 in the NCAA tournament, Kansas against North Carolina. And then Coach Self obviously beat UNC when Hubert Davis was the head coach in the game we were talking about earlier, 2022 national title game. But in 2008, Kansas beat UNC in the Final Four. 2012, Kansas beat UNC in the Elite Eight for the right to go to the Final Four.
That's right.
2013, there's UNC on the 8-9 line. Kansas is a 1 seed again, and we got them again. And that moved Roy to 0-3 against Bill Self. But the 2008 game in particular, everybody remembers it. You remember the graphic of when Kansas was up 40-12, and Brandon Rush has 12, and UNC has 12.
Yeah.
That UNC team was loaded with NBA talent.
Oh, yeah.
Wayne Ellington was on that team. Tyler Hansbrough obviously was the National Player of the Year. Everybody loved him. The other thing about that is it was the year that all 4 1 seeds went to the Final Four. We didn't see that until last year when all 4 1s were in the Final Four. But for a long time, that was the only Final Four where all 4 1s were there. And I remember specifically the Davidson game in the Elite Eight. All other 3 1 seeds had already made it to the Final Four. So there was already a ton of pressure on Kansas in the final game to win as the 1 seed and be the 4th of the 4 1 seeds to go. But also there was the Bill Self hadn't been to a Final Four. Elite Eight had been kind of a pain. And also you're going up against the Cinderella and Davidson, who is the 10 seed. 59-57, KU gets it done. And then it was like the guys just took a deep breath and could just go play against UNC. And Cole Aldrich, you remember, had 8, 7, and 4 blocks in that game as a true freshman and dominated down low against Tyler Hansbrough. KU got up 28 points, as I mentioned. And again, just the pure elation of we're beating Roy. I mean, that's what it was. And it wasn't ill will toward Roy, but certainly it was a little bit more than it is now, looking back, because now you've seen what Coach Self has done, and you couldn't be happier.
Well, I'll say in the 2008 national championship game, we saw Roy sitting courtside with a black sweater and a Jayhawks sticker, and that completely, to me as a child, completely erased my hatred for Roy Williams.
Yeah.
I was like, and I kind of got it at that point. I was like, oh, I get it. You know, he went back home. Like he went to North Carolina. He played under Dean Smith. He coached under him, and he went back home. I get it, and he still loves Kansas. It's just he went. I kind of got it.
You know what makes you feel that way, and you know what makes everything better? Winning.
Oh, absolutely.
You lose that game, you don't feel that way.
No,
you don't get Bill Self and see all the success that he's had and all the wins that he's had. You probably don't feel that way, but now you can look back and say, oh, you know, Roy boy, we loved him. But the emotion in that game, and again, Kansas was up 28. UNC cut this to 4 at 54-50. Brandon Rush takes over, and KU ends up winning 84-66. But that was a special one. And then, man, I'm just one sledgehammer after another here. 2018 against Duke.
I had it. Yeah.
85-81. Malik Newman in this game. This is the Elite Eight to get back to the Final Four. Kansas was the underdog in this game despite being the 1 seed. Newman scores 32. KU scores 13 in overtime. Newman scores all 13 in overtime. Hard to put into words how big of a win this was. Again, NBA talent on that Duke team. Wendell Carter Jr. was on that team. Marvin Bagley was on that team. Grayson Allen was on that team. And certainly there was a little bit of fate, which is required if you're going to win it all in such a hard tournament.
Yeah.
When Allen has the potential buzzer beater, well defended by Newman, and it's somehow, I don't think I've ever seen a shot like that since then.
Right.
Off the glass, in and out, rolls out. KU has second life. But yeah, really, really cool. Those Elite Eight games are always such a pest. And that one in 2018 where Coach Self went to his third of 4 Final Fours was pretty special.
Yeah, 100%. God, that's a good pick. But I will say I'm going to put an asterisk by it because it technically doesn't count, right? Just no comment.
What's next? You got back-to-back picks here.
Right, I got
Back-to-back picks
here. For this one, I'm going to go with another Final Four game. Give me KU Ohio State 2012. Kansas wins that one 64-62. KU is down 34-25 at halftime, and Kansas comes back. A tremendous effort by T-Rob. Tremendous effort by Travis Relaford. He had 15 points in this game. Not a lot of three-pointers were made in this game. KU only went 3 for 11 from the three-point line. Ohio State, they went 8 of 22 from the three-point line. But a defensive effort by Kansas really kind of tampering down Jared Sullinger. I thought they did a great job. He only had 13 points in this game. He was the best player in the nation, I think, that year. Obviously, there was Anthony Davis, but I thought Jared Sullinger was so good, and Kansas did an excellent job. Jeff Withey and T-Rob down low really just shut him down.
What was impressive about that game is people probably forget Ohio State was ranked number 2 in the country and visited Allen Fieldhouse earlier that year.
Yeah.
Aaron Kraft, obviously a fantastic point guard. They didn't have Sullinger in that game. He didn't play. So this was seen as kind of a, now we've got Sullinger. We're going to beat him. And to your point, it was 34-25 at half. It was actually 34-23. KU got a run out from Travis Relaford to make it 9 points in terms of a deficit at half. And then they used a little bit of that momentum. But, man, that 2012 team just grinded. And,
I know. They're so good that year, too. And it's so unfortunate. There's no way that Kansas was beating that Kentucky team. I'll just say, Kentucky was just too good. They were such a wagon, and Anthony Davis was incredible. And I think that this Final Four game would go down as the biggest game if Kansas were to win that national championship. I think that this Final Four game would be up there like top 3 games in Bill Self history, just because of the way that they won it. And like you said, they
a little bit
played them earlier in the year.
Yeah, they didn't have as much depth as they usually do, but got it done.
No. Man, there's so many good ones here too. I just to keep up with. I don't want to do this. Just to keep up with postseason, because that's really what matters. I have a lot of regular season games that I want to throw on here, but I'm going to go ahead and go with the Elite Eight game against Davidson.
Okay.
The fact that Steph Curry gives up that last shot, 59-57, super low scoring game.
It was a grinder.
But, the defensive effort at the end of the game to not allow Steph Curry to get that shot off, he had to pass it away, and that Davidson misses it at the very end. That was so tough. And that was, at that point, that was the story of Bill Self cannot get to a Final Four. He keeps on losing these Elite Eight games, and he just continues to choke it away. That was the first Final Four that Bill Self's ever been to.
We've had a lot of wins that have been elation, and we've had a lot of wins that have been relief.
Yeah.
Is that the number one relief game in Bill Self's
I think it was relief.
era?
Yeah.
The Final Four is so hard to get to. The Elite Eight is such a pain. And again, everything that I alluded to a little bit ago, you had the storylines of David versus Goliath, and the other 3 1 seeds had already made it, and all 4 1s had never been. Sasha Khan, shout out, comes through 646. You can check out Sasha Khan on an episode of Hanni and the Hawks, KansasNation.com. He'll talk about that and his time here at KU. But yeah, that was a great one, no doubt about that. A couple more for me as we wrap up this draft of best games in the Bill Self era. So many options. I'm pulling out my phone. I've got a list. I don't want to forget too many of them. Man, to me, I'm going back to one that I brought up the other day, which is the 2019 game against Dayton and Maui. We talk a lot about 2020 Kansas and how they would have won the national championship.
This is a Maui Invitational, right?
Yeah. And while we feel very strongly we had the best team in the country, so do Dayton fans. Dayton was going to be a 1 seed. Baylor was going to be a 1 seed. This game went to overtime in the championship of the Maui Invitational back when Maui, had a little bit better field than they do now. But yeah, Toppin had 18 points in this one and 9 boards. But for Kansas, it was some of the names that you're used to with Devon Dotson and Udoka Azubuike. Dotson in this one, Dan, had 31 points and 5 steals. Azubuike had 29 points. Weirdly enough, he only had 3 rebounds. That was strange. But Ochai Agbaji and Devon Dotson played all 45 minutes for KU. And, that team was a special one. Obviously, you had a defensive player of the year nationally and Marcus Garrett. And it just was punch for punch. Again, one of those games that's just such a good college basketball game.
Yeah.
And that team doesn't have a national championship we can look back and pay homage to. So there's that factor too.
That's another one where, I don't know, 50 years from now, do you think there's going to be a petition to get a banner up for
Less than that.
Less than that?
Yeah, something will happen.
I'll start that petition right now.
Yeah.
I'll start that petition right now to get a banner up for the 2020 team.
God, there's so many good games.
That one sucks.
There's
man.
so many good games, but I'm gonna finish.
More, right?
I'm gonna finish mine off with 2026 against TCU.
Yeah, okay.
Kansas comes back from down 9 points with just over a minute to go. They're down 5 with 12 seconds to go, and they find a way to get it done. And we don't know how good this TCU team will be. We don't know what the future looks like for this Kansas team, and that all plays a part, as we know. But at the end of the day, it was a special one. It was so incredibly unlikely. Kansas, a 0.6% chance to come back and win, according to ESPN Analytics. Late, got it done, showed a lot of heart. So that's going to be my final pick on this draft.
I like that a lot. God, look, that's we were talking about it afterwards. We're like, that's just an instant classic. Like, that's probably a top 10 game in the Bill Self era. That's kind of what sparked this. You know what I mean? And shout out to KU Najee for giving us the idea. I have 2 that I really want.
Okay, I'll give you one.
So I know. I'm trying to decide between the 2016 Champions Classic against Duke or the 2017 game against Kentucky at Kentucky when KU was, I believe, the number 2 team in the nation and Kentucky was 4. KU wins that one 79-73. Josh Jackson goes insane in that game. He had 21 points. I'm going to go ahead and go with 2016 Champions Classic against Duke.
The game winner from
Mason
Frank
hits a game winner with 1.8 seconds left to go. Just a tremendous effort overall in this one. Let's see, Frank, I believe Frank had 21 points in this game. Jackson had 15 in this game. Gosh, that was the same year too. Just unbelievable. Landon Lucas, by the way, only played 14 minutes. He started. He had 2 points in this game. So
Man, that
not
team
a
was
great.
That team was so good.
We held
Lost
Grayson
in the
Allen
Elite
to
Eight
12,
Oregon.
which is impressive. Defensive effort was fantastic, but just the Frank Mason game winner at the end of the game, that's just like peak. Like whenever I think of Frank Mason, that just has to roll through your head. Just that game winner, such a clutch moment, that pull up long 2. Just I love that game. That was such a special game. And like I said, the 2017 game against Kentucky was also a great one. You're the number 2 team in the nation. Kentucky number 4 team. You go into Rupp Arena and beat them by 6 points. Just a fantastic game. But I gotta go with the Champions Classic against Duke.
So many great Champions Classics, and I've got a lot of honorable mentions. Obviously, over 800 games for Coach Self, and it looks like. I mean, there's just so many to go through. I mentioned the Villanova game in 2022. Maybe not one of the all-time great games, but that was up there. I liked the first game of the KU-Mizzou series, the 21-22 season when we won the title, when they came back and we just absolutely bludgeoned them. The West Virginia comeback down 14 with under 3 minutes to go. That's a snub for sure. And 2019-2020, that team again at Baylor, they get to stop. Jared Butler misses the 3.
Yeah.
And again, Baylor would have been a 1 seed as Kansas would have been.
KU was 3 and Baylor was 1, right?
Yep. And KU got it done. And that was the lone loss Kansas took in Big 12 play was Baylor beating us at home. So we had to go to their place and beat them. and that's exactly what we did. But yeah, we hit a lot of them. There are obviously some great games that didn't go our way. You mentioned a few of them. Remember KU Indiana when we had the special salute to service? I think it was the Pearl Harbor game. Yeah, really cool. So many great games. But yeah, we'll try to get this up on Twitter and let you know, or you can let us know what you think. A lot of great memories of KU basketball after a special one Tuesday night in the Fog. Do want to shout out Miles Schneider and his team over at Crown Automotive. Appreciate their partnership once more. After this, we're talking Big 12 hoops. Plus, we're going to hear an exclusive post-game interview in the locker room, David Lawrence and Coach Jacque Vaughn. That's next on Rock Chalk Sports, KansasNation.com, and ESPN Kansas City. More memories of great Bill Self-era games have come to us. There was early in Bill Self's tenure, the win against Oklahoma State at Allen Fieldhouse.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State
He was 0-3 before
was
that, right?
loaded. And we were just talking about the what was the game we were just talking about? We talked about the Florida game in 2006 when they were reigning national champions, and then that team would actually go and win the national championship.
We were talking about that Dayton
again.
game.
Obviously, the Dayton game got selected. The Texas game that you selected 2007 rather.
The regular season game.
The regular season game
that
we didn't have, and that was incredible because Durant was a bad man, as Danny Manning said, and dealt with some injuries, came back, but Kansas got it done. A huge comeback there. So many great memories. Hey, let's hear from the locker room. David Lawrence, an exclusive postgame interview with assistant coach Jacque Vaughn after an emotional win and an all-timer, KU over TCU on Tuesday.
Coach Jacque Vaughn, you played through a lot of these, but this one was special for a lot of reasons. And it's certainly the loss of a very special person in Scooter felt like he was there with you tonight.
I could see him smiling down on us, enjoying a team covering for each other, somehow figuring it out. And that's what he did as a human being. He somehow figured it out, how to impact people, how to live a fruitful and impactful life, how to love Kansas basketball, how to be a compassionate person, and he was the ultimate teammate. And known me since I've come to Lawrence, and I miss him already. But what a special way to play a tribute to him and get a win.
Yeah, well said. Credit TCU, but bad starts for Kansas in both halves, and you're able to come back in both of them.
It's amazing. I think, we talked about at halftime that this team was going to continue to shoot the basketball and drive us on some of our one-on-one matchups, and they did, and took our lead pretty quickly. We didn't start the game well, though, David. I think at the end of the day, our focus at the beginning of the game has to be better. Our attention to detail and assignment has to be better, and we can't dig ourselves holes.
You're down 16 with 12 left in the game, and you're down by 9 with 1:14, and then down by 5 with just 12 seconds, but you found a way.
Found a way. I don't think you can script that, the scenario over and over again, the amount of plays that had to be made on both ends of the floor to go our way. But at the end of the day, I think you give our guys credit for not giving up, for pulling for each other, for rallying and still believing that getting a win was possible. And what a win to way to respond and get ready for this next one.
Yeah, and it looked like after TCU misses the front end and then they get the three, like that could be the dagger. But yet Melvin finds a way. I mean, Jamari comes back, makes a three, and then Melvin, that miraculous drive in one to bring you within 3 in 37.
Yeah, it's great. And you love the game management at that time, when to use your timeouts, when to not use your timeout, when to go for two. And then we had some guys that step up and make some big free throws. Darren made the 3 free throws. I'm not sure if he'd even touched the rim, all 3 of them. Right. Mari makes his 2 free throws. I think we handled the trap well, Marco in the corner to get it out, have some savvy to get it to his teammates. So a lot of plays made by a lot of guys.
Yeah, and of course you've seen it at the next level. But Trey and of course DP tonight, we witnessed it, being able to get to the free throw line and get people to get in the air Talk about how special that is in their skill.
It's a huge advantage to be able to do that. And we've had these conversations before. And DP is a guy that can do it consistently, get to the free throw line. It calms your team down to see the ball go through when you have your defense set. I think he had 9 free throw attempts in the first half. And so to be able to, be a comfort blanket for us when we need some points. And then Trey just has savvy to do it. He's learned how to get to his spots, to bait guys a little bit without being, embellishment too far. But he has a knack for getting to the free throw line.
And then Melvin's knack of being able to press a button and up his game, up in his warp speed when DP's out.
It's a talent that he can stay involved in the game mentally, which is tough to do. I think Melvin had 3 points at halftime. And then for him to only have 1 turnover in the course of a game like that, to be able to rebound, maybe 6 rebounds, to be able to assist, to still impact the game when he only had 3 points. And a big part of that is his mental will to win.
Lastly, just how about the grit of this team? We've seen it in Vegas, of course, tonight, and playing shorthanded. They seem to be pretty scrappy.
It's a responsibility when you put on the Kansas jersey, and responsibility is the ability to respond, David. And our group has that ability. Now we have to show it more consistently. That's what you have to do in the Big 12. But it's a responsibility, and I think our guys felt that a little bit tonight, that it means something to have on a Kansas jersey. That's the beginning of a team. That responsibility. When you sense that, when that ability comes amongst the group, hopefully we head in the right direction.
And you and JC, being alums, you can charge them with that.
Without a doubt. We are responsible ourselves for being a part of this tradition, and what a tradition it is.
Such a fun night. So glad you're here, Coach.
Thanks, David.
Enjoy.
What a fun night. Wow.
We won't forget it. Thank you.
David Lawrence and Jacque Vaughn post-game, 104-100 KU. Comeback, miraculous win over TCU on Tuesday. Now the Hawks hit the road. They head to Morgantown to take on West Virginia, who beat Cincinnati 62-60 earlier this week. Mountaineers are 10-5, 1-1 in Big 12 play. Coverage will begin at 9:30 a.m. on Saturday with the Crimson and Blue show, and the Jayhawk Locker Room show will actually be live here on video.
That's
right. Kansas Nation Studio. So looking forward to that. A couple other scores from the Big 12 last night. Number 1, Arizona blows out K-State 101-76. Number 9, BYU over Arizona State 104-76. They looked really, really good. Richie Saunders, 31 points. Colorado over Utah 85-73. And then in Waco, number 3, Iowa State. They're still perfect at 15-0, 2-0 in Big 12 play. They win over Baylor 70-60. Perhaps Baylor is a little down this year, but we know that Iowa State certainly is not. Joshua Jefferson, who has a triple-double already this season, he had 19 and 17 in the win. After this, we're talking some Kansas football and some college football playoff outlook, as well as there's a game tonight, Ole Miss, the 6 seed against the 10 seed Miami. Give you a game pick or two on that. And Dan's got some transfer portal updates as it relates to KU. That's next, KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City. Welcome back to Rock Chalk Sports here in the Kansas Nation studios. Gonna talk a little Kansas football transfer portal and give you a game pick on Miami Ole Miss, the college football playoff semifinal tonight. But want to shout out a new partner that we have here at Kansas Nation, Stanley James Steakhouse.
Yes, Stanley James Smokehouse here in Lawrence. I'm going to say it. Now, you might not like this because you're a Johnson County guy and a Kansas City guy. It's the best barbecue you can get outside of Kansas City.
We don't have to argue on everything.
Fair enough.
We don't. They have great biscuits and gravy as well. I've had their B&G.
Best barbecue in Lawrence. I mean, just unbelievable. They're right on 23rd Street, on East 23rd Street. Go check them out. They're in a gas station. Man, Stanley James Smokehouse, just so good. Get the Big Daddy burrito. Big Daddy breakfast burrito.
Daddy breakfast burrito.
Big Daddy, though, they have a Big Daddy burrito and a Big Daddy breakfast burrito. Both of them are unbelievable. Every time I go see Jordan over there, he hooks me up with one. It's so good. So go check out Stanley James Smokehouse.
Yeah, tell Jordan that the guys over at Kansas Nation sent you. Stanley James Smokehouse here in Lawrence. Appreciate that partnership. Kansas football transfer portal updates. Dan, what can you tell us?
Yeah, so right off the bat, I want to start off with probably the biggest transfer portal addition that Kansas has up to this point. Nick McMillan coming out of Buffalo. The Buffalo Bulls. We talked about this off air. I hate that it's the Buffalo Bulls and then also the Buffalo Bills. Whatever. Nick McMillan's coming over from Buffalo. He's actually born and raised in Buffalo, so it's kind of a big deal that Lance Leipold is able to get him to come over. Also, they're not going to have a gap of anybody not playing from the University of Buffalo. Nolan Gorsko is going to be the last one.
That's right.
So Nick McMillan is going to be coming over. The he's a burner. He's got speed. He's a true number one receiver. He had 981 yards last year for the Bulls. That was 24th in the nation in terms of total yards. Also 62 receptions. That was tied for 48th in the nation. 15.8 yards per catch. That was 66th in the nation. The kid's a burner. The kid's got straight line speed, excellent route runner, excellent route tree, and that's just going to be a fantastic addition in the portal for the Jayhawks is Nick McMillan. He's 6'1", 184 pounds. Kansas also added a few other players as well. Coming on today, Roman Pearson. He is a corner out of Ball State, had 27 tackles and a pick this year for Ball State. So that's just beefing up that cornerback room. Also added an offensive lineman. Henry Greenstein tipped us off to him maybe last week. Trezell Jenkins, his dad is a former draft pick for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's coming over from Wayne State. Wayne State was not good this year. They're also Division II, but Trezell Jenkins was a true freshman last year, wound up playing in 10 games, started in 4 of them, and really was their best offensive lineman for Wayne State. So that's going to be exciting for him to come over. Also, Christian Pritchett coming over from Georgia Tech, former 3-star recruit, had a couple of tackles last year. Didn't really see the field a whole lot for the Yellow Jackets this year, but really looking forward to beefing up. I mean, right now, I said this to a buddy of mine, we just need warm bodies in that safety room. You know, we are so thin on guys, and Christian Pritchett is going to be an excellent addition in the transfer portal. But yeah, I mean, all of this to say, this is highlighted by Nick McMillan. I think that he is going to be an electric guy this year. And you have Cam Pickett, who has lateral speed and is a reception kind of guy. Keaton Quebeca can beat some guys deep, but also, again, I'm looking at him as kind of a reception guy. You didn't really have a burner, right? You're losing Emmanuel Henderson. You're losing guys like Levi Wentz. Nick McMillan is going to be able to step in and really make an impact for this Jayhawks squad. So I am really, really excited about him. Like I said, 981 yards last year. That was 24th in the nation. Only 3 touchdowns, but hey, that's okay. The kid's got wheels.
We know that this is going to kind of be up and down in terms of the rankings, if you will. The transfer portal tracker. Keeping an eye on 247sports.com for transfer portal tracker. Man, that's difficult to say. But 35th now is Kansas right now overall in the country, and 8th in the 16-team Big 12 with 14 commits. Just to kind of go through them really quick. Got a safety, Jaden Harris, coming over from Georgia. We know that safety is an area, as you alluded to, that Kansas needs to get in. Officially, they haven't put that newcomer, Christian Pritchett, on there yet. 247 Sports has not, but that's another safety allegedly coming to Kansas. The edge position, David Santiago coming over from Michigan State. And then interior defensive line, of course, the first one was Jabril Conde, who comes over from Grand Valley State. And also Trezell Jenkins, as you said. Trayvon McAlpine as well comes over from Tulane. So KU trying to beef up the defensive line in addition to Eamon Smalls, who comes over from UAB. Also, Roman Pearson, as you mentioned, is on there officially on 247sports.com. He is the corner that comes over from Ball State. Again, kind of a depth piece, you would think. 2 running backs, and Jalen Dupree comes over from Colorado State, and Yassine Willis from Syracuse. And then at the wide receiver position, you mentioned McMillan. Expect more from the wide receiver position moving forward. Linebacker, another position group that we expected Kansas to hit hard, and they'll continue to do so. Jaron Willis comes over from South Carolina. Quincy Davis comes over from New Mexico State, and Landon Watson from Kentucky. And then the big addition of the offensive line is Connor Stroh, listed as an interior offensive line. He comes over from Texas. He played a little bit of guard, but Dan, as we've talked about, expect him to get a shot at least at tackle. that size at 6'7", would not be surprised to see that. So Kansas a little quieter the past couple days, but this portal, as we've discussed, is open until the 16th.
Yeah, right. There's still a lot of time. There's still a lot of time, and Kansas finally got that wide receiver that they were looking for. Probably going to go out and try to get another wide receiver. As of right now, I don't think. And now Kansas has been really kind of down low in terms of who they're trying to contact, who they've been in contact with, which I think is really good that Kansas is doing that. They're not announcing a lot of different things. But as of right now, I don't think that they've contacted any quarterbacks. So that makes you wonder, are they cool with just Isaiah Marshall and Cole Ballard? I mean, they seem to have a lot of faith in those guys to be able to take the reins and take over the offense next year. And Zeke Marshall was a Kotelnicki guy. He was recruited to essentially play in a Kotelnicki style offense. And we're hopefully we get to see one of the two guys, whoever it may be, whoever wins that battle, they're going to have another. They're going to have a lot more weapons, a lot of different weapons. There's going to be a lot of new names, a lot of new faces on this Kansas football roster next year, but you feel good about the way that they're reloading as of right now.
KansasNation.com, transfer portal tracker. If you need to keep up to date, that's the place to go. Any additions, anybody who will enter the portal, that's the place to be, KansasNation.com. Dan, college football playoff semifinals, of course, tomorrow night is the Big Ten battle with number 1 Indiana, who's undefeated, trying to go 16-0 for the first time since a team did that back in the 1800s. They're going to have to get past Oregon. That's tomorrow night, but tonight it's number 10 Miami and number 6 Ole Miss, both of whom are coming off of upsets last time out. What do you make of this game? Ole Miss is a 3-point underdog. Over-under is 52.5.
Yeah, this game is going to be a lot of fun. Miami's going to have a lot of fans there, obviously, but I think Ole Miss is just so good, and I don't know. I tend to find myself rooting and also talking myself into the storylines. I want Ole Miss to win this game just because Pete Golding is the head coach. Their coach left him to go to the LSU job, which was a lateral move at best. Trinidad Chambliss has been so good. I like Ole Miss to win this game at plus 136.
All right, Ole Miss going to the national championship game, according to Dan Courtright. That's going to do it for Rock Chalk Sports today. Tomorrow on the show, we're going to have Shreyas Laddha on to preview KU West Virginia. A lot of excitement with Kansas football, Kansas men's basketball, particularly after that win on Tuesday at Allen Fieldhouse. Big shout out to Elijah Schmidt running the operations and all of our partners as well. Crown Automotive, Game Day, Men's Health, Lawrence, Stanley James, Smokehouse, and more. We'll catch you tomorrow on Rock Chalk Sports. For Dan Courtright, Sean Kellerman saying we'll see you then. KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City.